My name is Celeste Ward, and the day my marriage ended was the same day my town decided I was a joke. I remember standing outside the courthouse as the wind pulled at my coat, listening to people whisper behind me like I could not hear them. I had grown up with these people, gone to school with them, worked alongside them. Yet all it took was one divorce and suddenly I was the woman who failed. They said I should have held on tighter. They said I should have been more patient, kinder, quieter. They said maybe if I had been less ambitious, less opinionated, less myself, my husband would not have decided that I was a burden, that I was the weight holding him back. The truth was uglier. His name was Andrew. We had been married for 8 years. And during those years, he built this image of himself as the hardworking, noble provider. A man who supported his wife while she struggled to find direction. That is what he told everyone. I did not correct him. I let him have the narrative. I let him feel powerful. I thought marriage meant compromise. But compromise turns into disappearance when only one person is expected to bend. I found out about the affair on a Thursday afternoon. Not by accident. Andrew wanted me to, though he would deny that now. He left his phone unlocked on the kitchen counter. A message preview glowing like a dare. Her name was Laurel. Younger. Softer. Easier to impress. He did not just want her. He wanted to be the version of himself he imagined he was when he stood next to her. When I confronted him, he did not apologize. He did not deny it. He just shrugged and said, "Maybe this is for the best. You were always difficult to love." It is strange how words can break bone without ever touching skin. The divorce became public quickly. Laurel liked attention, and gossip spreads faster than truth. Neighbors chose sides. Most chose his. They said I should move on. That holding bitterness makes a woman ugly. They said the court would be fair. They said the settlement would be amicable. But fairness does not exist where charm covers cruelty. Andrew requested nearly everything. The house. The car. The retirement accounts. He said I did not contribute enough to deserve them. The town nodded along because they only ever saw his version of our life. I walked into that courtroom expecting loss. I accepted it. I just wanted the process over so I could breathe again. Then I saw Andrew's face when he sat down. Relaxed. Confident. Pleased with himself. He believed he had already won. He believed I had no fight left. And maybe I did not. Until the judge mentioned his pension. A pension he had never told me about. A pension that had been accumulating for nearly a decade. Not a small one. A significant one. And suddenly the room changed. Andrew shifted. His lawyer spoke quickly, trying to move past the topic. The judge did not allow that. Pensions are marital assets. They are divided. Equally. 50-50. That was the law. Andrew's jaw clenched hard enough that I heard his teeth crack. And in that instant, something inside me that had been small for too long began to wake. But I did not speak. Not yet. Because I realized something as I watched him grip the arm of his chair. He had expected me to break. He had expected me to disappear. He had expected surrender. Which meant he had never once considered what would happen if I did not. The judge asked if both parties wished to proceed with standard division procedures. Andrew's lawyer objected. Of course he did. He asked for mediation. He asked for negotiation. He asked for reconsideration of dates and contributions. He asked for everything except fairness. The judge scheduled a hearing. And as we walked out of the courthouse, Andrew leaned close enough for only me to hear and said, "You are not going to win anything. Everyone knows what you are." He smirked. And behind us people laughed. Not loudly. Just enough. That was the day the humiliation settled into my bones. But humiliation is not the same as defeat. Humiliation is fuel. And I was about to burn. I did not know it yet, but someone was about to hand me the exact piece of information that would turn my divorce into my victory. I did not go home after the hearing. I walked. Long blocks, cold air, no destination. I needed silence, not advice, not pity. My feet carried me to the old library at the edge of town. I had spent half my childhood there. It was the one place where no one ever needed to speak. When I stepped inside, the librarian, Mrs. Carlin, lifted her head. She saw everything without me saying one word. She made tea, set it in front of me, sat nearby. No questions. Just presents. We stayed like that for several minutes. Then she said something I did not expect. Your husband spent a lot of time here. Always reading finance guides. Retirement planning. Long before any trouble started. Her tone was gentle, but the meaning was not. He had been planning his future alone long before he told me we were struggling. Before the affair. Before he said I was difficult to love. He had been preparing for life without me while I was still building a life with him. I left the library and went straight to my sister's house. Eleanor opened the door before I even knocked. She took one look at me and said, "Come in." I told her everything. The affair, the pension, the way the town laughed like it was entertainment. Eleanor listened without shock. She had never liked Andrew. She had warned me years ago that he cared more about being admired than being known. When I mentioned the hidden pension, she leaned forward. He did not plan a divorce last week. He planned it years ago. Men like him don't leave unless they are already financially safe. My stomach tightened. She was right. He had always insisted on handling the paperwork. He said it was easier that way. He said he wanted to take care of me. He had not been taking care of me. He had been taking advantage of my trust. Eleanor stood and handed me a business card she kept in a drawer. Call her. Her name is Mara. She's a forensic accountant. She does not care about emotions. She finds truths people hide. I called. Mara's voice was calm, professional. She asked questions quickly, clearly. Did I have access to household mail? Did I know financial institutions he used? Did I ever sign anything regarding retirement or investment accounts? No, never. Then he has been building a financial identity without you, Mara said. I will need documentation. If you can get me his statements, I will tell you exactly what he has hidden. How do I get them? I asked. Her answer was not comforting. But it was true. You stop assuming you are powerless. I went home. Andrew was in the kitchen, leaning against the counter with that relaxed confidence of someone who thinks the whole world is already agreed on his version of the story. You really think you're going to make a fight out of this? He asked, almost amused. Everyone knows how this ends. Be reasonable. Sign the settlement. Move on. He was already closing the door on the life we built. As if I had been temporary. Replaceable. I did not answer him. I walked past him to the cabinet where he kept unopened mail. He moved fast then, quicker than when I confronted him about Laurel. That alone told me what mattered to him. What do you think you're doing? His voice cracked for the first time. I placed my hand on the stack of envelopes. He did not reach for me. He reached for the papers. That told me everything. His fear was not losing me. His fear was losing what he had taken while I was looking the other way. I lifted the folder and set it on the table. Slowly, deliberately. He watched like something inside him was unraveling thread by thread. He said my name like a warning. Celeste. I met his eyes. Calm. Steady. Awake. No, I said. We are done playing the version of this story that you wrote. His jaw tightened. A muscle flickered. He tried to smile, but it did not reach his eyes. You don't know what you're doing. Maybe I did not. But I was learning. I opened the first envelope. And the moment I saw the letterhead, I understood. The pension was only the beginning. The letterhead was from an investment firm I had never heard of. Not the pension fund mentioned in court. Something else. Something hidden. My pulse picked up, but my hand stayed steady. Andrew stayed perfectly still. But I could feel the tension radiating off him like heat from asphalt. Where did you get that? He asked. The mail, I said. The mail you thought I would never open. His expression tightened. Not guilt. Not remorse, just irritation. I had disturbed the script. I took the envelope to the dining table and sat. I unfolded the statement slowly. The numbers were clear. Contribution totals. Asset growth. An account opened 6 years into our marriage, but only in his name. Eleanor was right. The pension was only the part he could not hide. The rest he had tried to bury behind a curtain of paperwork I was never meant to see. He stepped closer. Celeste, listen. No, I said without raising my voice. Not anger. Boundaries. He stared at me like I was speaking a language he did not remember I could speak. I took out my phone and dialed Mara. She answered on the first ring. I have an investment statement, I said. Single ownership. 6-year timeline. Amount significant. Send it, she replied. Now. I took a photo. Sent. Silence hung heavy between each second. Finally she spoke. Calm. Direct. Certain. This is a secondary retirement fund. Private. Tax-sheltered. It is considered marital property unless he can prove contributions were separate assets. Andrew's jaw clenched. He knew exactly what she meant. He knew I now had leverage. Mara continued. You will need more records. Monthly statements. Transaction logs. If he moves the money now, it will trigger a traceable flag. I glanced at Andrew. He knew that too. He would not move anything, not yet, because now he knew someone was watching. We hung up. The silence between us felt like a wire pulled tight. He tried to regain control. His voice gentled. Celeste, we can talk about this. We do not need to turn this into something ugly. We can settle quietly, cleanly, without dragging my name through mud. There it was. Not remorse. Self-preservation. I stood and took the folder with me. He reached out as if to grab it, then stopped himself. He could not touch me without looking exactly like what he was. Control only works if the other person believes they are smaller. I was no longer small. I walked down the hall and locked myself in the bedroom. Sat on the floor. Spread the documents out around me like puzzle pieces of a life I had not known I was living in. Every deposit matched a timeline. Bonus checks, tax returns, expense reimbursements he had told me did not clear. All quietly redirected. All carefully structured. Not impulsive. Not emotional. Architected. He had been planning his exit for years. The betrayal was not Laurel. The betrayal was the life he built while still sitting at my table. Laughing with me. Sleeping beside me. Pretending we had the same future. I felt grief, yes. But beneath it was something steadier. A cold, deliberate clarity. This would not be about pain. This would be about proof. I gathered every document into a neat stack. Photographed each page. Sent them to Mara. She responded almost immediately. Mara, this is enough to open a financial review motion. But listen carefully. He will adjust strategy. He will not stay passive. And she was right. Because that night, when the house went quiet, and I finally walked into the kitchen to get water, Andrew was waiting in the dark. Not threatening. Just present. Like a man rehearsing. You are making a mistake, he said quietly. When this is over, the town will still believe me. They will say you are bitter. Angry. Violent. They will say you wanted to ruin me. And they will believe it. I leaned against the counter and met his gaze. You already ruined yourself. He shook his head, a small, mirthless laugh. You don't understand. You are not fighting me. You are fighting a story everyone already agreed to. Maybe that would have broken me once. But now I understood something important. Stories change when someone tells the truth out loud. I walked past him back toward the bedroom. He did not follow. He did not need to. The war had already shifted. The next morning Mara called me and said 2 words that changed everything. We found more. Mara did not speak quickly. She let silence lead. That alone told me the situation had shifted again. We traced 2 additional accounts, she said. Both opened during your marriage. One tied to his employer. One privately. And the deposits show a pattern. What pattern? I asked. He has been funneling income into accounts you were never made aware of. Consistent amounts. Regular intervals. He was preparing separation long before the affair. I closed my eyes. I had wondered whether the betrayal was spontaneous, sudden, emotional, something that just happened. Now I knew better. The affair was not the beginning. It was the symptom. Celeste, Mara continued. You are dealing with someone who builds narratives to protect himself. He did not think you would question him because he depended on your silence. There it was again. That word. Silence. My silence had been his greatest asset. What do I do next? I asked. You gather every document in that house before he realizes what you have. I ended the call and exhaled slowly. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I could not hear Andrew. Not footsteps. Not drawers. Not the television. Quiet in a house is not peace. It is tension rearranging itself. I moved room to room carefully, not rushed. His desk first. Top drawers empty except for pens and receipts meant to look harmless. But the third drawer stuck slightly and I knew. I used a butter knife to loosen the track. Inside were envelopes all unmarked. I opened them one by one. Statements. Investment summaries. Insurance policies. Documents that painted a new version of my marriage. One where Andrew had been building a life where I was not only absent, I was erased. A blank space where a spouse should have been. I laid everything out on the table. The truth looked cold, calculated, clinical. Not emotional betrayal. Strategic betrayal. The front door opened. I did not have time to hide anything. Andrew stepped inside. He saw the table. The documents. Me. There was no anger. Only a slow, deliberate exhale. So, he said, you went looking. His tone was not surprised. More like someone watching a chess move they had expected, just not this soon. You planned this divorce for years, I said. My voice did not shake. He walked into the kitchen, poured water into a glass, as if we were discussing weather. I planned for stability, he corrected. You were unpredictable. Emotional. You made everything difficult. You mean I questioned things? He drank. Yes. Exactly. There it was. The truth wrapped in his language. He did not want a partner. He wanted an audience. Someone who would nod while he arranged the world to reflect his preferred reflection. I supported you, he continued. For years I supported you. And now you want to strip everything away out of spite. I want what is legally mine. He laughed. A short, dismissive laugh. You think the court cares about your feelings? Everyone knows what you are, Celeste. You will look vindictive. You will look unhinged. I will look reasonable, responsible, generous. He stepped closer. And that is all anyone ever remembers. There was no threat in his voice. That made it worse. He had done this before. Not to me, but somewhere to someone. This was a pattern polished over time. When this is over, I said quietly, you will not be the hero of your own story anymore. His expression flickered. Just once. The smallest break. The mask slipping for a breath. Then he smiled again. We will see. I sent the new documents to Mara. She responded quickly. Mara. This is enough to file an emergency financial injunction. He will not be able to move a single cent. For the first time since this began, I felt something like power. Not victory. Not revenge. Something simpler. Agency. But power reveals character. And the moment the injunction was filed, Andrew showed his. That evening my phone buzzed. A message from a number I did not recognize. A woman's name appeared. Laurel. She had never contacted me before. She had been content to exist in the shadows of my life, feeding on what he told her about me. Now she had something to say. Her message was short. Laurel. He told me you were unstable. He said you would try to ruin him. I need to talk to you. Please. I stared at the screen. The woman he betrayed me with. The woman he lied to after lying to me. She had reached out. And if she was reaching out, it meant he was losing control. I typed one sentence back. Meet me tomorrow. Noon. Neutral place. Because now the story was changing. And I was the one writing it. I chose the cafe on the edge of town. Neutral ground. Public enough that no one would raise their voice. Quiet enough that no one would lean in to listen. I arrived early. I needed to see her face before she saw mine. Laurel walked in exactly on time. She looked smaller in person. Not younger, just uncertain. Like someone whose world had recently shifted without her permission. Her hair was pulled back, no makeup, no performance. She was not here to impress me. She sat down carefully, as if the chair might break beneath her. Thank you for meeting me, she said. I nodded. No pleasantries. No smile. I was not there to comfort her. She folded her hands. He told me you were dramatic. That you exaggerated everything. That you made him feel trapped. I believed him. Of course she had. Andrew didn't seduce with charm. He seduced with pity. He made himself the wounded one. The misunderstood one. The victim. I said nothing. Silence made her continue. I thought he was leaving you because you didn't appreciate him. I didn't know about the accounts. Or the pension. Or anything really. She swallowed hard. I thought he loved me. There were many things I could have said. None would have changed the reality. He doesn't love people, I said. He uses them. Her eyes flickered, not denial. Recognition. She looked down. He told me I was the only person who really saw him. That was his favorite line. I leaned forward slightly. Why did you contact me now? Laurel hesitated. Then her voice dropped. Because he is preparing to move the money. He has been calling banks. Asking questions about asset transfers. He said the injunction will not hold. He said he has a plan. There it was. The shift. The counterplay. He thinks the law is optional, I said quietly. She nodded. He thinks he is smarter than everyone. He always had. Then she exhaled, and the sentence she spoke next was one I did not expect. I want to help you. The words did not come from loyalty. They came from betrayal. He had lied to her too. He had promised her a future he had no intention of delivering. When control slipped, affection dissolved. Why? I asked. She looked up, eyes steady now. Because if he gets away with this, he will do it again. To me. To the next woman. To whoever follows. He doesn't stop. He just moves. She was not wrong. But wanting to help is not the same as being useful. What do you know? I asked. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small notebook. Worn. Bent. Filled. I wrote things down, she said. He talks a lot when he feels safe. Names. Dates. Places. Conversations. I opened the notebook. It was a map of his mind. Investment strategies he repeated to sound impressive. Dates of bonus deposits. Times he met with a financial advisor I had never heard of. A password hint for one of the hidden accounts. Notes about how he planned to shift certain assets once the divorce was finalized, so they would appear post-marital. Laurel had not known what she was documenting. But I did. This was evidence. I closed the notebook. This is enough to file fraud. She nodded. I figured. We sat in silence for a moment. Not allies. Not friends. Just two women who had been fooled by the same man in different seasons, for the same reason. We had given him the benefit of the doubt. You need to be careful now, Laurel said. He is going to realize he is losing control. When that happens, he gets impatient. I knew that tone. Not fear. Memory. I walked her to the door. She paused before leaving. For whatever it's worth, she said. I'm sorry. I believed her. Not because she asked forgiveness. Because she finally saw the truth. When I left the cafe, the wind had picked up. Clouds rolling low, heavy, pressing the sky closer to the ground. I drove home slowly. Thinking. Not feeling, not yet. Feelings would come later. After the war was finished. When I stepped inside the house, Andrew was at the kitchen table. He looked up. He knew. His eyes didn't show panic. Not yet. But the calculation was unmistakable. He was rearranging the board in his head. Fast. Where were you? He asked. Out, I said. He studied my face. Searching for cracks. Signs of weakness. He found none. Celeste, he said carefully. We need to talk about how we move forward. No, I replied. We will let the court move us forward. His jaw set. You are making this harder than it needs to be. No. I'm making it fair. He stood. His voice fell to something quiet. Controlled. Cold. You think you can win. I didn't look away. I know I can. My phone buzzed. A message from Mara. Prepare yourself. I found something big. Mara did not send details in the message. Only, prepare yourself. So I stepped outside before calling her back. The house was too small with Andrew inside it. The air felt clearer under the open sky. She answered on the first ring. Say it, I said. There is a third account, she replied. Not in his name. In his mother's. I closed my eyes. His mother has been gone for 3 years. Yes, Mara said. Which means he is committing financial fraud. He is moving marital funds through a deceased relative's identity to avoid equitable division. She let that settle. This is not a mistake or carelessness. This is deliberate, strategic, illegal. My breath didn't shake. I had moved past shock. This was confirmation, not revelation. What do we do? I asked. We document everything, she said. And then we file an emergency motion. But listen to me carefully. Once we move, he will understand that he is exposed. He will react. Not emotionally. Strategically. You must be ready. I thanked her and ended the call. When I went back inside, Andrew was standing in the hallway, arms crossed. He had heard enough to know he was losing altitude. His expression was neutral, the kind of calm that is built, not natural. Who were you talking to? He asked. My accountant. His jaw tightened. Not surprise. Not confusion. Recognition. You really think dragging strangers into our marriage is going to fix anything? Our marriage? He was still using the language of unity, while preparing an exit strategy that erased me completely. You already ended our marriage, I said. I am simply refusing to disappear. He stepped forward. Too close. The air shifted. You always do this. Turn small problems into tragedy. I was trying to protect us. I was trying to handle things so you wouldn't panic. But you cannot stand not being in control, can you? There was no irony in his voice. He believed his own narrative. He always had. I stepped back, not out of fear but clarity. Your control ends now. He laughed once. Cold. Sharp. You think these documents matter. They don't. People believe stories, Celeste. And the story is already told. I am the responsible one. You are the unstable one. He paused. And his next words were the truth beneath everything. I do not lose. Then he walked out. Calm. Steady. As though he were the one still in control. I took the documents to Eleanor's that evening. We spread them across her kitchen table. It looked less like a marriage now and more like an autopsy report. Eleanor studied each page slowly. Her expression did not shift. He did not just plan to leave you, she said. He planned to profit from it. I nodded. I did not need emotional reaction. I needed the next move. We will file the fraud injunction tomorrow, I said. Eleanor looked at me. Not with sympathy, with something like respect. You're not breaking, she said. You're sharpening. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The next morning, Mara and I sat in a small conference room at the courthouse. No windows. Just beige walls and fluorescent light. Mara slid the folder to the clerk with the precision of someone placing a blade on a table. This is a petition for emergency asset protection, she said. Supported by evidence of financial misrepresentation. The clerk stamped the papers. It was done. The motion was active. Andrew's accounts were frozen. His access limited. His strategy interrupted. For the first time in years, the playing field was level. We walked out of the courthouse. The sunlight felt sharper. Real. My phone buzzed. A message. From Andrew. Just one sentence. You have made a very serious mistake. No threats. No insults. No theatrics. Just promise. I showed it to Mara. She nodded. He is realizing he cannot control the legal system. He will try to control public perception instead. That is his next move. Public perception. The town. The narrative he had been curating for years. He would not attack me in court. He would attack me in the world that believed him. I drove back toward town. The sky was heavy, low clouds pressing the light down. I turned the corner onto Main Street and saw them. 3 people. Talking. Stopping when they saw me. Their expressions shifting into the rehearsed sympathy of people who already chose sides. Someone had already told them a story. Not mine. His. I felt no fear. Because now I had my own story to tell. And mine was made of evidence, not performance. That evening, as I prepared to face whatever came next, someone knocked on my door. Not Andrew. Not Laurel. His lawyer. And he was smiling. His lawyer stood on my porch like someone delivering flowers instead of threats. Crisp suit. Calm eyes. The kind of man who makes people trust him simply because he does not raise his voice. He introduced himself as Daniel Hart, though we both knew his name was irrelevant. He was not here to negotiate. He was here to perform. "May I come in?" he asked. "No," I replied. A brief pause, surprise, then recalibration. He stepped back half a pace but not away. "Very well. I'll speak plainly. Andrew would like to resolve this matter quietly. He believes you are acting under emotional distress. He wants to spare you the embarrassment of a public dispute." There it was. The story he believed would save him. I crossed my arms. "Say what you came to say." Daniel took a small folder from his briefcase. "This is a revised settlement agreement. It grants you temporary support for 1 year, in exchange for relinquishing any claims to the pension or secondary accounts. 1 year. Not half. Not equal. 1 year to fade out of my own life. You think that's reasonable?" I asked. Daniel smiled, gentle, practiced. "Celeste, courts sympathize with stable narratives. Andrew is consistent. Respected. Your emotional credibility will be questioned. If this goes to trial, you risk being portrayed as vindictive." There it was, the weapon. Not law. Reputation. "He believes you want to hurt him," Daniel continued. "He is offering you dignity, a chance to move on cleanly." I let silence do the work. Because it was not Andrew offering dignity. It was Andrew demanding silence. I took the folder from Daniel's hand. I did not open it. I held it like something flammable. "You tell him," I said, "that dignity is not a gift he has the authority to give, and I do not move quietly. Not anymore." Daniel studied me now. Not evaluating. Measuring. He was trying to understand what had changed. "You believe the evidence will speak for you," he said. "It will," I replied. He tilted his head. "Evidence is only half the battle. The story is the rest. And Andrew is very good at stories." "So am I said. He just forgot that." Daniel did not argue. He simply offered a small, courteous nod. The kind given to someone who has made a choice that will shape everything. "You should prepare," he said. "This will get harder before it gets better." He left without looking back. Inside, I set the settlement folder on the table. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I knew exactly what it contained. The life he thought I would settle for. Instead, I called Mara. Told her about the visit. She listened without surprise. "This is expected," she said. "When a manipulator loses financial control, they try to control narrative. He will try to make you appear unstable. He will use sympathy. He will use charm. He will use every person you once trusted." "I know," I said. "And Celeste," she added, "do not defend yourself. Speak only the truth. Defense is a trap. It centers his story. Truth. That was the theme of this new life. Truth without apology." When I hung up, I looked around the house. Not with attachment but with clarity. Every piece of furniture, every framed photo, every mug in every cupboard, was part of the version of myself I had been trained to remain. A version that was small, accommodating, quiet. She was gone now. Not replaced. Reclaimed. The next day I drove to town. People watched. Some stared. Some turned away. Some pretended not to notice. The air held judgment, curiosity, discomfort. Let them watch. Narratives only hold power when unchallenged. At the grocery store, 2 women paused near the produce section. One lowered her voice, though not enough. "I heard she lost everything. I heard she's trying to take what isn't hers." I did not approach. I did not correct. I simply placed apples into my basket slowly, giving the silence weight. Eventually, one of them looked at me. Her expression shifted. Not guilt, not apology. Just the realization that I heard. I held her gaze until she looked away. That was enough. Not conflict. Claiming space. That evening, the sky darkened early. Storm clouds gathering low over the rooftops like they were listening. I sat in my living room, lights off, the house quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. The stillness felt different now. Not suffocating. Anticipatory. My phone buzzed. A new message. From Mara. "Be ready tomorrow. We file the fraud claim publicly. Once it hits, the court will notify him. He will not have time to hide anything." My next breath was slow. Controlled. Tomorrow. Everything changes tomorrow. I turned off the phone, stood and walked to the window. Andrew was standing outside, watching the house. He did not knock. He simply waited. He stood in the dark like he belonged there, hands in his pockets, shoulders relaxed, as if watching the house was simply another chore, something he had always done. I did not turn on the porch light. I opened the door and stepped outside. "What do you want?" I asked. He smiled, but the smile never reached his eyes. "To talk." "No," I said. "You want control. Talking is just the method." He tilted his head slightly, acknowledging accuracy without admitting it. "This doesn't have to become a war, Celeste." "It already is," I replied. He took a slow step toward me. Not aggressive. Measured. Practiced. Every movement calculated to land just on the safe side of threatening. "You always chose the hardest path. You could have agreed to a quiet settlement. A clean break. Instead, you want to drag both of us through the dirt." "I want the truth," I said. "And I want what is legally mine." His expression sharpened. There the slip. The crack. The glimpse of the man underneath the soft tone. "You think the court will protect you?" he asked. "You think evidence matters more than perception? I have spent years building trust in this town. You left. You came back. People remember that part. Not the rest." He was not wrong, but he believed that was the end of the story. "Let them talk," I said. "I'm done making myself small to stay likable." He exhaled slowly. That was the moment he understood I was no longer playing defense. That there was no narrative left he could hand me that I would accept. His voice dropped to something quieter. "Do you really think you can win this?" "Yes," I said. "Because I'm not fighting for the past. I'm fighting for what comes next." For the first time, he did not have a response ready. He stood there, searching my face for the woman he used to shape. The one who apologized first. The one who softened confrontation. The one who believed that endurance was love. She was gone. He stepped back. "Then I guess we'll see how far you're willing to go." I watched him walk away. Steady, composed, but not victorious. The confidence was thinning. Cracking. He had always expected me to break. Now he was learning what happens when someone stops fearing loss. The next morning, the courthouse was quiet when I arrived. Mara stood waiting, binder in hand, as precise and calm as ever. She nodded once. "Are you ready?" she asked. "Yes." We filed the fraud motion. Formal. Complete. Irrefutable. The clerk stamped the documents, and with that sound, that single sharp definitive sound, the ground shifted beneath Andrew's feet. He received notice within the hour. And just as Mara predicted, he responded exactly as men like him always do when control is threatened. He tried to reclaim the narrative. By noon, rumors were everywhere. I heard versions of myself I did not recognize. Celeste is unstable. Celeste is vengeful. Celeste cannot let go. Celeste wants to destroy him. He was fast, strategic, precise. But here is the difference. Rumor is smoke. Evidence is flame. And I now had fire. That evening, Eleanor and I sat at her kitchen table again. Papers spread. Timelines aligned. Every deposit traced. Every lie organized into a structure that made meaning visible. "This will hold up," she said. "He cannot talk his way out of this." I nodded. But I did not feel triumphant. Not yet. This was not victory. It was positioning. And power is only useful when you choose when to use it. As I drove home, the sky was heavy with storm clouds. Wind against the windows. The kind of atmosphere that presses memory to the surface. The house was dark when I entered. Quiet. The table still covered with the documents I had left there. I turned on one lamp. And froze. The settlement folder Daniel had offered me, the one I had refused, was gone. Someone had been inside. Not to take the evidence, but to send a message. "I can still reach into your life." I did not panic. I picked up my phone and texted Mara. He entered the house. The reply came fast. "Then it is time to move to the next phase." I typed back. "What is the next phase?" Her response was 4 words. "We take this public. Tomorrow the town will hear my story. And Andrew will finally lose control of his." Morning came without sunlight. The sky was a dull gray, the kind that presses everything downward. I did not hide. I did not wait. If Andrew wanted to win through whispers, I would respond with clarity spoken aloud. Mara and I met at the community center, a neutral building where town meetings were held. Not a courtroom, not a battlefield. A place where truth could be said in plain air. She had prepared printed packets, timelines, financial summaries, account connections, every step showing how Andrew had built a life that excluded me while standing beside me. There was no dramatic language, no accusations, just documentation. You will not argue, she reminded. You will not defend. You will explain. I nodded. People began to gather. Curious at first. Cautious. The same neighbors who had whispered behind hands now took seats as though they were watching a performance. But truth is not theater. When I stood, I did not look for their approval. I am not here to change your opinion of me, I said. I am here to present the facts of what happened in my marriage, so that when you hear a story about me, you will know what is real. The room went still, not supportive, not hostile. Listening. I laid out the timeline. How I had trusted. How he had withheld. How he built accounts designed to remove me, while still presenting himself as loyal. I did not raise my voice. I did not tremble. I did not look at the floor. I simply spoke what happened. Some faces shifted. Small realizations. Small cracks in certainty. But others stiffened. The ones who had already chosen his story. People rarely like changing their minds. Cost them too much pride. Then the doors opened. Andrew entered. He walked with the confidence of a man who still believed he was the protagonist. He scanned the room, saw how many eyes turned toward him, and smiled like he was stepping onto a stage. Celeste, he said, voice casual, I wish you had come to me instead of creating drama. There it was. His weapon of choice. Calm dismissal. He addressed the room, not me. We have all seen how painful divorces can be. Emotions run high. People make choices they regret. I have only ever wanted what is best for both of us. I think everyone here knows I have always tried to be fair. The phrasing was flawless. Crafted. Familiar. The town leaned toward him the way they always had. He knew exactly which version of himself to present. Then something unexpected happened. Laurel stood up. No theatrics. No apology in her posture. She walked to the front beside me. Side by side. Not as allies, not as friends, but as witnesses to the same truth. And in a voice that carried farther than mine ever could, she said, He told me he loved me. He told me Celeste was unstable. He told me he needed to protect himself from her. That he was the victim. But he said the same things about me when I started asking questions. The room shifted. Not dramatically. Not loudly. But undeniably. Andrew's expression did not break. He simply adjusted. He wore shame now, controlled, practiced, elegant shame, the kind that asks for sympathy. Laurel, he said softly, I know you feel hurt. But you and I. She cut him off. No. You and I nothing. You lied to me. You lied to her. You lied to everyone. And you planned it long before either of us knew. She placed her notebook on the table. The evidence no one could discredit. He looked at it. And the mask, the one he had constructed out of charm and tone and posture, cracked. His voice sharpened. You have no idea what you're doing. But now it was not a statement. It was fear. And everyone in that room heard it. I looked at him, the man I had once loved, trusted, believed. The man who had convinced an entire town I was the instability in his life. You taught me something, I said. Silence is not kindness. Silence is permission. And I do not permit you to rewrite this anymore. He opened his mouth, but he did not speak. Because there was nothing left to perform. Mara stepped forward. The fraud case is already filed. The accounts are frozen. The state is reviewing the financial transfers. Andrew's jaw clenched hard enough to tremor. The room held its breath. This was no longer about reputation. This was impact. This was consequence. This was the moment the story changed its narrator. But winning truth is not the same as winning peace. And that night, someone pounded on my door hard enough to shake the frame. The pounding rattled the glass. I did not need to look to know who it was. Anger has a sound when it finally loses its mask. I opened the door slowly, not out of fear but control. Andrew stood there soaked from rain, shoulders tight, breathing too fast. He did not look polished anymore. No confident smile. No rehearsed calm. This was the man behind the performance. The version he worked his whole life to hide. "You think you won," he said. His voice was sharp but thin. Not power. Panic. "I think the truth is finally visible," I replied. He stepped inside without waiting to be invited. Storm water pooled on the floor. I did not move. I did not flinch. Let him see that I no longer adjusted myself around him. "You humiliated me in front of the entire town," he said. "You made me look like a liar." "You did that," I said. He ignored the words because they did not serve him. "You've always needed to be the victim. The fragile one. The one everyone must protect. And now you're pretending to be strong? You're not strong. You're desperate." His voice cracked at the end, and for the first time the room felt smaller around him, not me. "I'm not pretending," I said. I finally stopped pretending. He paced. Fast. Uncontrolled. His hands flexed open and closed. He was trying to reorganize the narrative, but the pieces no longer fit. "You don't understand what you've started," he said. "That fraud case, if it goes through, I could lose everything. I could go to prison." He wanted fear. He wanted guilt. The old reflex flickered in me. The urge to soothe, to soften, to protect him from consequences. But that Celeste was gone. "You chose this," I said. "You built this. You counted on me never asking questions. On me staying quiet." His jaw tightened. "I did everything for us." "No," I said. "You did everything for yourself and expected me to applaud." Silence. Real silence. Something shifted in his expression then. Not remorse. Calculation. "You think the town is on your side now?" he asked. "They pity you today. Tomorrow they'll get bored. They always do. And when they do, I will still be here. I have roots. I have reputation. You have nothing." It was meant to cut, but it revealed the truth he feared. He was losing the story. I stepped closer, not aggressive, steady. "I don't need the town to side with me. I don't need admiration. I don't need to be believed. I only need the law." The law, something he could not charm, manipulate, or seduce. His composure broke. Completely. His voice rose ragged. "I gave you everything. I did not raise mine. You gave me a cage." The words hit him. Not loud. Sharp. And finally he stopped speaking. He looked around the house then, the rooms he once believed he owned. The life he expected to walk out of with clean hands and half-truths. It was slipping. He knew it. I knew it. He walked to the door. Paused. Rain pouring behind him like the world was opening wide. He turned his head just enough to speak. Voice low, not threatening, not pleading, just tired. "I don't know who you are anymore." I answered honestly. "I am who I was before you needed me, small." He didn't reply. He just left. The door closed. The storm swallowed him. The next morning, the judge reviewed Mara's filings. The court froze the fraudulent accounts permanently. The pension division was approved, and the secondary investments were legally reclassified as marital assets, which meant half, every account, every cent. Not because I fought hardest, but because I finally stopped fighting myself. Andrew did not show up for the ruling. His lawyer did. The decision was read in a quiet room. No applause. No cheers. Just ink on paper. The marriage was dissolved. The financial control he built dissolved with it. I walked outside into fresh air that felt like something I had never breathed before. Freedom is not loud. It is steady. It is the moment you no longer explain your own existence. But endings are not just justice. Endings are beginnings. And my new life was waiting. Not behind me. Ahead.